Okay, here's the first critique for the assignment number one, and thanks to everybody that went back in there and adjusted your settings so that if I couldn't see your page before, now I can see them. And for those of you, there's maybe just a couple of you that have that may not have been able to change those settings, and I just wanted to show you when you log in through Google, and they've changed this very recently. So I had to go in and find it too. So if you go in into your account, um, what you'll notice is that you'll have your name up here, and then over here, if you click on the Google Plus, then you have this option right here, and this will allow you. I think it defaults as extended circles, and what you want to do is put on anyone at this point. So after the semester, if you don't want everyone to be able to access your account, certainly make the changes. But at this point, um, make sure that you have it so that this way I can see your work. Okay, let's go on with the critique here. Okay, so I'm just going to go with go through the pages here real quick and give everybody kind of a nice, concise critique for their work. So, Yuyun, this looks great. Okay, let's go through each shot here, so I can see what kind of camera and everything. Okay, so you're using a Sony, the A330. Okay, I'm familiar with that camera. Okay, so yeah, great. Um, I guess the things that I'm looking for this particular assignment for everybody is the fact that you can go in using your white balance and also making sure that you're shooting at a fast enough ISO that you don't get too much camera shake. And based on as I go through these images, I'll every once in a while look over here at the photo details for everybody, and I'll make note of um, what settings that you might be shooting at. Like, so for instance, ISO at 400 and an exposure of a 40th of a second in this kind of light, and the white balance. The white balance, when you have so many different light sources in a shot like this, the white sources, the white balance can be difficult sometimes. But this looks fairly consistent, and in most cases, most auto white balances on your camera will do the job. But every once in a while, you may need to change that auto white balance, take it off of auto white balance, and go in and be able to adjust it so that it gives you a better looking image. Okay, so I'll just go through these different shots here. Okay, so far everything looks great. I also like the fact that in most cases right here, like ISO 400 is a pretty good general purpose ISO, and I see that you've got this set here, and your camera's adjusting the shutter speed and the aperture independently for you. Nice that you did it in black and white there. Okay, yeah, that looks great. So Yuyun, I hope that I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Um, for your first assignment here, this looks great. Good job. And I also, was kind of, it's also sort of a learning thing for everybody to be able to post your pictures and then also link them to the wiki, which I think everybody's kind of got the hang of now. Everybody looked like they posted in there correctly. So good job with that for everybody. Okay, so very nice, Yuyun. Okay, let's see. We'll go to the next one here. Okay, so this is what it looks like for me if I can't see your album. And like I mentioned in that first little page where I showed you mine, you may need to go back in there, go up to your profile here, and go to that Google Plus option to be able to go in and make those changes. So, and there's no penalty for for being late or anything like that with these. So don't worry about that. But just let me go. Certainly go in and make your albums viewable so that I can see them in the future. And I will go back and look at this album. Send me an email or something and let me know. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Okay, yeah, so here's another one. Thierry, okay, and yeah, just go make those changes. All right. Okay, so Sean, let's take a look at yours. Take a look at the photo details here. Okay, you're shooting it with a Nikon D50-100. I am familiar with that camera. Okay, so great. So like you'll notice in here is, when you're shooting inside, especially under fluorescent lighting, a lot of times, and when you're using like the normal lens, the kit lens that came, usually it's a 3-to-1 zoom on a DSLR. An ISO of 1250 is perfect for shooting things like this inside. Okay, and it also looks like you mixed it with the flash. So, because it mentions flash used right here. So and this is a very nicely lit portrait. So I'm guessing that you had an external flash and you bounced it. It looks like maybe you bounced it off the ceiling to get this very nice even lighting. So let's take a look through the rest here. Okay, yeah. So this one, flash is like directly used, firing straight at your subject here. Okay, your ISO still 1250. That's good. Okay, now outside, perfect. An ISO of 100 is quite nice. And also, when you're using a lower F number here and a telephoto lens, which it looks like you used a telephoto lens here. Let's see what if it says your focal length 110 millimeters. Okay. So when you have something like that, then it gives you that nice shallow depth of field. And so then your subject here is nice and sharp, and your background is nice and soft. Very nice. Good. Okay, now when you're inside, now those first few when you were using the flash, very nice. But I'd like to see some where you're not always using the flash. Let's see if you got some more here. Okay, yeah, so you're using the flash. You do a very nice job with the flash, but also like for you to experiment, and you don't have to go back and redo this or anything, but I'd also like for you to experiment to be able to go in and shoot with available light, because every once in a while available light works really well and has really a nice dramatic effect. Now this outside, this is very nice in terms of perfect example of when you're using flash as a fill flash to fill in all these nice little details here. So, but very nicely done. And I see that you have a really nice handle on how to, when you're outside using a lower ISO to get to be able to make use of all the pixels in your camera. When you're using a lower ISO, it's a little less, I guess, strain electronically on the pixels to be able to reproduce everything to the optimum. A lot of cameras now can shoot with really, really high ISOs without a whole lot of appreciable noise in them. So I would definitely encourage you to be able to use, to be able to go and shoot at much higher ISOs. Okay, let's go on here. Okay, Alexis. Let's take a look at yours. Let's see your photo details here. Okay, Canon PowerShot. Okay, I am familiar with this camera. Okay, so setting your ISO here. You get your ISO for 100 for outside. Perfect. Very nice shots. Okay, I can see on this one right here, you zoomed out. Very nice. Perfect for this kind of thing. Okay, use your flash on this one. And your flash on this one. Okay, but and I can see you can also set it at ISO 1600. Okay, so yeah, these work well. Now, when you're setting your ISO at a higher ISO and then using a flash, a lot of times that will balance, that will allow you to see the light in the background and give you a little bit more of a natural look. Oops, wonder where it went. Okay, here we go. These are beautiful. So, these kinds of portraits, ISO of 200 outside. So you really have a great sense of fashion photography here. This is terrific. Beautiful lighting, nice soft lighting where, whatever the light is reflected from. And this one, more of okay, you shot it with your iPhone, and probably, I'm imagining you shot it like kind of like an Instagram kind of shot, where it gives you that kind of nice retro look. So that's great. That's nice to be able to combine those. So yeah, so Alexis, great job with being able to select the right ISO for the job. The shots with when you're inside with the dog. Let's see here. I'll go back and take a look. Okay, yeah. So when you're inside with the dog, these don't, you don't have to go back and redo this or anything, but I would try. You know how when you were shooting this outside with this really nice portrait outside, same kind of thing for inside. If you're shooting at a high enough ISO, 1600 or even 3200, you should be able to get a nice shot, a nice portrait of whether you're shooting the dog or whether you're shooting people, and not have to use the flash. So just something for you to consider in the future. Okay, good job. All right. Okay, Kelsey. Okay, let me go through here. Take a look at the photo details here. Okay, Nikon Coolpix. All right, very good. Okay, so all right, when you're shooting something like this, let's see. Okay, good. Okay, so I like the fact that you're changing it up when you're using, this is a little bit more telephoto, which turns out quite nice. And, okay, and let's see, what's this? Okay, so you shot this with your iPhone. And your Coolpix. Okay, yeah, so you got several different kinds of shots here. This is good. Okay, let me take a look here. Okay, so on shots like this, nice lighting, nice flat lighting. Those are the kinds of things that you're looking for when you're shooting these kinds of portraits. And especially when you're shooting a portrait and you want to emphasize, the more characteristics of a person. Usually, a tighter telephoto shot will reveal that. Although a wide-angle shot, a little bit more wide angle when you're using something like your iPhone, if you get in nice and close, can also do a nice job. So this is good for the artistic interpretation. Okay, good job. Very, very nice. Okay, I love the fact that when you're inside, you're shooting a little higher ISO. When you're outside, you've got your ISOs are around 100. Okay, let's go on to the next. All right, Melissa. Okay, I'll turn on the photo details here. Okay, Canon Rebel T3. Very nice camera. ISO of 200, perfect for something like this when you're outside in open shade. And very nice that you got it nice and tight on your dog here. Same kind of thing with this shot right here when you're shooting in close to people. To be able to come in and shoot a nice tight shot, that always makes for a nice portrait. Very cute here. You know, the important thing about portraits, you always want to make sure that the eyes are in focus, or at least one eye is in focus, because unless you're intentionally doing something a little bit more artsy or whatever, it really gives you a sense of sharpness if the eyes are in focus. Okay, looks good. Lighting from below sometimes can be a little unflattering, but you know, in this case it worked out just fine. Nice to see that your ISO right here is at 800, and very nice, and just perfect for this type of thing here. Okay, and back outside again, ISO of 200. Great. Love the fact that you're in nice and tight. Now here's a perfect example, you know, for artistic interpretation, especially when you're, you know, when you use black and white. It really gives it a sense of kind of a interesting journalistic look to the picture. Very nice, and really a sweet shot right here too. So ISO of 3200. I'm really glad that. You were brave enough to use ISO of 3200, because not everybody thinks, you know, lately that 3200 way too high and too pixelated, and that would have been the case just a couple years ago. But the newer cameras have really improved the noise reduction for higher ISO. So, and a real sweet shot too of your dog. So, very nice, good job. Okay. And this is Lauren's. We'll turn on the photo details here. Oh boy, yeah, so here we go, ISO 6400. And now here's a perfect example of sometimes where white balance can get thrown off. You can see this looks a little bit on the yellow side. So what I would recommend is, you know, this is great you were using 6400. But I would, you know, if I saw on the back of my camera that my image looked so yellow, unless I intentionally wanted it to look really yellow, I would go in there and work on my white balance adjustments to be able to see if I could get that so that it looked a little bit more normal. But otherwise, I'm really glad that you used 6400 inside. That's great. Same kind of thing here too. You can see it's a little on the yellow side. So what you might want to do is adjust it. So for tungsten, the tungsten setting in your white balance, because with the photo details that they have right here, it doesn't always come through. You know, it doesn't tell me what your white balance settings are. Now outside, here you are, ISO of 100, perfect for outside. That's great. That really works out quite well. And a very sweet shot here. Also ISO of 100. And using more of the telephoto on your zoom there. Okay, and what a nice little character shot of, you know, somebody not really having a very good time, but perfect for in terms of ISO. And also being able to get in tight definitely shows, you know, not all portraits have to be happy portraits, but you know, this is something that's fun and interesting, especially for you. Not so much for him, but okay, all right, okay. So good job with that. You know, I love the fact that everybody seems to be really doing a nice job with consistently having your ISOs lower for outside, and your ISOs for higher for inside. Okay, let's see here for Lee. turn on your photo details here. Okay, you got a Kodak Easy Share. I am familiar with this camera. Okay, so these are good. Your ISO here is 80 for shooting inside. And so for using the flash, certainly gives you a nice. Okay, now you got a Nikon D5100 here. Okay, that's a lot different. Okay, so the Easy Share shot, good for for the wedding shot there with the flash. And I'm not always sure, with some of the Easy Shares you can't set the ISOs. Let me go back to that. Can't always set the ISOs on some of the Easy Shares, so something like this, with being able to set her at a higher ISO, you could shoot under the available light and not have to rely on the flash. Okay, yeah. So this is a good shot for outside. ISO of 800 in open shade. That works really well. Here you've got a Canon Rebel. Okay, you've got access to a number of different cameras. Okay, ISO of 320 also for outside and shooting with a telephoto here. Okay, another Canon Rebel here. ISO for 200 for outside. Perfect. And if any of you want to take your pictures into Photoshop and do some adjusting, that's great. That's perfectly, absolutely, you can do that. And if I were going to do that, if I were going to take it into Photoshop or Lightroom or something, I would definitely boost the shadow details here so that you have a little bit more light in the shadows. Okay, good. Back to that Easy Share. Okay, so now the camera may have, I don't know if you adjusted it or the camera did, but when you're shooting with the Easy Share, a lot of times, especially when you're shooting with the flash kind of lights your subject, but the background goes dark, and so like you have in this situation right here. And so you might want to try turning off the flash and seeing what you can get, especially if you shoot it at a higher ISO inside. Okay, back with the Easy Share. Now it's got black and white here. Okay, good that you used the telephoto, and ISO 80 for outside, perfect for outside. Okay, good. All right, let's go on here. Okay, Larry, take a look at the photo details here. Shoot with a Nikon D300. Nice camera, very nice. Okay, and I am familiar with this too. Okay, so here's a perfect great shot of you're shooting ISO outside of 200 and a 2,000th of a second to stop the action. That's really nice, and you can see right here you've even captured the dust. Perfect for looks like you're pretty adept at shooting at sports stuff. These are really great sports shots, really capturing the peak of the action. Very, very nice. And of course your ISO at 200, very nice. Looks like you must have a 70 to 200 2.8 zoom lens, because you got the F number here at 2.8. What a great lens that is, if that's what you have. Okay, yeah. All right, so, and also, more great action shots. These are beautiful. Very, very nice. Great stuff. Okay, so here you are in maybe a little bit dimmer light. You've got your ISO bumped up to 2,000. Okay, and so something like this, exposure, we'll get into some exposure compensation stuff later on. Whenever I look at flowers, I always, with the green leaves and everything, I always bump my exposure compensation down just a little bit so it renders the green a little bit more true, but you may have been going for the more pastel look for the flowers here. Okay, something like this, perfect for inside. Wow, very, very nice shooting here. ISO 4000. And, zoomed in nice and tight, 180, and had that aperture probably open almost all the way to 2.8 there. And then the fact that you got the eyes in focus, beautiful. Yeah, you can see how shallow a depth of field where the eyes are in focus, the nose is out of focus. And even the ears, so you got that nice plane of focus right across the eyes there. Beautiful. Wow, what a nice little portrait this is too, where the lighting coming from the, I guess this little electronic device, whether it's a Game Boy or whatever it might be, providing that nice little patch of light to light up this little boy's face. And the fact that you shot ISO 4000, and nice tight shot. Beautiful, beautiful work. Excellent job, Larry. Great. Very nice work. Okay, and here's Kelsey. Okay, so another one of those things where you have to go back in there and make those adjustments for your account. Okay, and Samantha, let's take a look at your work here. Turn on the photo details. Okay, Nikon Coolpix. Very nice. Okay, I like the fact that you zoomed in with your telephoto on this. Okay, can't quite tell what she's doing here, but I'll see what we got. Okay, so now when you're inside, plenty of people use flash, but some of the idea behind this week's assignment was to not necessarily use flash, but to bump your ISOs up high and use the interior light that you have. Okay, like in this case right here, you got ISO 800. That's great inside, but you can see that it used the flash right here. And so sometimes when you're not using the flash, the on-camera flash, you get a nice, more natural kind of look, especially if there's some good available light, like coming from an overhead light fixture or a lamp or something. And here we are outside. This is kind of a nice creative approach, being at the same sort of level on the monkey bars here. Okay, good. All right, so that worked fine on your assignment here, Samantha. Okay, we'll go to the next here. Okay, so Aaron, let's take a look at your work here. Turn on photo details, Canon PowerShot. Okay, I'm familiar with this camera. Okay, here we are on the strip. Doesn't tell me what your ISO is here. And that is common. Some camera models don't, some of the information doesn't come through all the time. But I'm assuming that the camera is setting you were setting it at a higher ISO here. Okay, good, okay. All right. And nice when you're getting in nice and tight to be able to isolate your depth of field. Okay. All right. So as I was looking through here now, you don't really have any portraits in here. You've got kind of a variety of shots, mostly like nice close-ups of things. Okay, I mean you could use this as a portrait. And also this, but go back in on this assignment and put in some portraits, and don't use the flash like you can see right, like in this one right here, and it's a little out of focus. Like pay attention to the focus, especially when you're doing a portrait, unless you're intentionally doing something where you want to give it an artistic effect for being out of focus. But I would like for you to go back in here and shoot a couple more portraits and replace some of the let's see, replace some of these that aren't portraits with portraits. So okay, all right, go on to the next. Okay, David, let's take a look at your work here. Turn on photo details. All right, you got a Nikon D3100. Great. Okay, I love the fact that you shot this at a high enough ISO. Perfect. And here you are outside, or it looks like you're outside. I might not be able to tell correctly, but ISO of 3200. That's really high for being outside, but you can see that the camera rendered the photo looking really good. Sometimes when you're outside, excuse me, and you're using a really high ISO, it might cause some problems in terms of not being able to get all the tonality that you might want. So when you're outside, like maybe around 800, 400, especially like when you're in shade like this. And, so something like this at 128, perfect for shooting under low lights, when you're shooting groups like that. Let's see. Okay, 3200 again. Okay, but still at 3200, it still looks good. Okay, 1600. Yeah, so you must be used to shooting in low light. So these worked out just fine. In terms of white balancing, everything, exposure, everything looks good. Compositionally, this is kind of nice how the negative space balances out what you have here. Kind of a nice diagonal composition. And in something like this where you're shooting and your depth of field is nice and sharp right here, and then you have a softer depth of field like that. And the fact that the street frames your subject here, that worked out very nice. Okay, this is also really nice too. Yeah, and your white balance looks pretty good here. You've got a 1600, and it looks like indoor lighting. That's perfect. You got 400 here where you got some light coming in, some sunlight coming in from the outside window. Okay, so very nicely done. Good job. Go on to Christina's. Go to, oops. Let me go back here. Assignment number 1. Turn on photo details. Okay, I got a Sony. The W370. Okay, I'm familiar with this camera. Okay, good that open shade, ISO 400, perfect for that. Good that you're getting in close to get these portraits here. When you're inside using a flash, that looks good. A lot of times you might want to try these and you don't have to go back in and redo these or anything, but you definitely want to try these. A lot of times, when you're shooting inside and you're shooting at the higher ISOs, to turn off the flash and see what the available light will do for you. Okay, dogs outside. ISO of 1600. Like in a case like this, you can see when you're using a higher ISO and you're outside, sometimes white can just block up and not have any detail in it. So that's definitely when you want to be able to have using a lower ISO for outside. Okay, another shot where the flash, on-camera flash, basically lights up your subject, but a lot of times you're missing out on what maybe the available light might be. Okay, let's take a look at these. Yeah, so pretty much so your outside shots were not with the flash, but your inside ones were, and so you might want to go in there. You don't have to, but you might want to go in and shoot some shots where you're inside, you're using a higher ISO, and you turn off the flash and use the available light. Okay, good job. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, so Austin. Take a look at your work here. Turn on photo details. Okay, so you're using your camera phone. The Nokia probably set the ISO itself at 100 for outside. Those Nokia phones, most camera phones lately have really got some great resolving power. And I've heard a lot about the Nokias being really good. I have not used one myself. Wow, so it even has an adjustment for so it's set it at f2. This is a pretty nice camera phone. It's set the ISO 320, and so you can even see a separation of depth of field between the keys and the background back there. Okay. So I'm imagining that the camera's doing all the setting here. Haven't really been seeing any portraits here. Okay, here we got a portrait. Okay. Yeah, so you got kind of for this particular assignment, I'd like for you to get to go in and shoot a couple pictures of people. Definitely stay with what you've been doing in terms of leaving the flash off. And I'll have to do a little research on this camera. I don't know whether the camera allows you to set the ISO or not. So if you have another camera where you can make some settings, it will help you in terms of giving an idea of what you might, what options you might have for yourself when you're shooting with a camera that has, some more controls on it. Okay. All right, let's take a look here for Alex. Okay, we got a Nikon D50-100. Okay, and you use the flash here. You got ISO of 800, good for inside. And that gives a nice mix with the flash. A lot of times when you're using a flash and you're using available light inside the flash like you have right there, like you have right there, it gives you kind of a bluish look to it. So in a case like this, you might want to turn the flash off if there's enough light. Okay, this is a nice portrait, in terms of your subject focusing on you with the whatever that is, some sort of, I don't know, something pointing at you. Oh, air gun. Okay. Okay, good that you're outside. You got your ISO 500 for open shade. Perfect. ISO 400 open shade. I probably would go in here and brighten this up a little bit. Maybe if you can do Lightroom or Photoshop. Okay, same kind of thing as you had with the first one here. When you mix flash with available light, sometimes it tends to make things look a little bit blue, but the fact that you're using 800 on the inside, that's very nice. 400 on the outside in open shade, perfect for that. Nice portrait. The fact that his eyes are in focus and everything else kind of a little bit softer, that works really well. Okay, good job. Good job with that. Okay, and Michelle. Okay, yeah, so make sure you go back in there and see if you can make those changes to, here maybe I can say request access. Okay, so see if you need to make any of those changes, for all of you that if I can't see your albums. But overall, I'm very happy with what everybody's done. A couple of you might have to go back in and just shoot a couple little things to make the album a little bit more relevant, but all in all, everything looks great. Thanks very much.